Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4311-400-652. This is a single acting spring hinge, full mortise residential weight-lube bearing steel base satin chrome hinge. So let's dissect the part number. LB stands for lube bearing, and that is a concealed, maintenance-free type bearing construction from Bommer. The 4311 is representative of the fact that it is a single-acting spring hinge that is appropriate for very typical sorts of 1 3/4 doors, meaning that they will have a 1/4 inch radius, corner, and a template pattern on the holes for the screws. Template pattern means standard. It's most common, very common. However, that doesn't necessarily mean what you have. So refer to the template below this video so that you can see dimensionally where all of the holes line up so that you can compare it against your existing, if it's an existing installation. The -400 means that it's 4 by 4. It's 4 inches tall, and the height comes first on a hinge like this, and 4 inches wide. And the 652 means two things as well. It means that it is a steel base hinge, and that it is satin chrome plated. Screws are included in a complimentary finish. You're going to get all wood screws and all metal screws for this. That link to the template also refers to another concept I want to point out, the fact that this is a full mortise hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leafs there that when the leaves are brought parallel, they're intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. This is a very common spring hinge, the LB4311. It's common because of the size, and it's common because of the corner and the location of the screw holes. Now, moving forward, the hinge is available in different sizes. Well, really just 3.5, 3.5, but different architectural finishes, brasses, bronzes, chromes, prime coat, black, etc. That could all be ordered special. There is a link below this video also, moving forward, to the installation instructions, and it's probably also printed on the back of the box that you've received. How to set the tension on the screw on the hinge itself. So this being a spring hinge, which is going to be used in residential applications, garage door, an attached garage door. Those doors are typically 20-minute fire rated or greater, but 20 minutes is pretty common. And that door needs to be self-closing, needs to be self-latching and self-closing. The hinge does the self-closing part. Those installation instructions show you when you install the hinge with the tension collar towards the top of the door. This can work for a left hand or a right hand door. That you will set the tension by use of the included tension rod, black piece of steel, and then the tension pin. It's there, that piece of silver steel. I'll poke the tension rod out just a little bit from the edge to demonstrate. You will want to insert the tension rod into one of the holes and turn the tension collar clockwise. And as you do that, it reveals new additional holes. Into one of those new additional holes, you insert one of the tension pins, a tension pin. Okay, that silver pin. No more than 3 holes is what's recommended. And that will allow you to set tension on the spring hinge. Now, there's a guideline in terms of how many hinges that you want to work with. Considering only doors up to 3 foot by 7 foot, 85-pound doors, 2 spring hinges, and up to 110-pound doors, you'd be looking at 3 spring hinges. You can mix and match these with standard hinges because the axis of pivoting is compatible with a typical 4x4 hinge. I should have pointed out earlier, the leaf thickness on this is 96 thousandths, which is typical for residential applications. Now, the quantity of spring hinges. I have installed these and I have set them, I have managed them, I've maintained them through different seasons of the year, through different, weather conditions, meaning temperature conditions really, air pressure conditions that go along with all of that. And I have found that having more spring hinges on the door is just better. If it's borderline and you think your door is 40 pounds and the chart says 2 hinges for 85 pounds, I'd be a fan of putting 2 on. I'd be a fan of putting all 3 of them on. Here's why. Not only because they're relatively inexpensive, but I have found greater success in getting the door to successfully close, but more importantly, to latch, when I've got more spring power on reserve. I liken it to a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. And when you've got a lot of spring power, additional spring hinges on the door, more residual, more stored energy at the very last latching cycle, you can get greater success of it latching without having to set the tension so high just to get the door moving fast enough to, through inertia, just the latch. So when you've got a lot of spring power, that last few degrees of the closing cycle, there's still enough torque, so to speak, set in the installation of the spring hinges to allow it to comfortably latch and do so reliably and predictably. You'll notice in the summertime, referring back to the weather, the windows in the back of the apartment building are open. And then that front door opens and the air just howls through there, forcing the door to slam, which is going to happen often. So seasonally, people will end up changing the setting on the spring hinges sometimes. And when you've got more spring hinges on the door, you've got greater success at keeping that constantly working all the time. You could also be conservative in the sense that you'd buy one, if you needed another one, you'd add it. That's a great plan of attack as well. However you go about doing it, the Bommer spring hinge is a great option to be able to do it. Last thing I'd like to point out to you is the Bommer logo, and right above it, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. Any questions on the Bommer number LB4311-400-652, single acting spring hinge, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.